So of course I saw the video that we've just watched all over TikTok. I was tagged in it several times and people started to message me on Instagram, as you can imagine. First thing I said was it was strange that some of the information had been hidden and that I'm always suspect of things like that. Within literally 5 minutes, 5 minutes is probably longer, I was contacted by the person who made the video with the unedited screenshots. Things started to seem a little bit more believable, but there was only one way I would find out for sure if this checked out, and that was to call Leeds Crown Court myself. The following video is me calling Leeds Crown Court, and I must warn you again, that, trigger warning for everything that you're about to hear from this point on in the video.
Leeds Crown Court General Office, Sam speaking.
Hi Sam. Sam, I'm just seeing if I can basically contact somebody at the court. Somebody's done a freedom of information request about a certain person, and using that information they're sort of publicising that over social media, and I'm just basically fact checking and making sure that what they're posting is correct, because obviously if it's not, it would be quite serious for the individual that they're trying to post about, if that makes sense.
Okay, no problem.
Now, I've got copies of an email where they've spoken to somebody. I'll just get the name. Danny Hawkins, admin support.
Alright, yeah, okay.
Okay, so they say that they've obviously exchanged emails between themselves and Danny Hawkins. What information do you need from me to fact check that this is the correct person?
Right, have you got the person's name and date of birth?
Yeah, the person's name is Stephen, spelled Steven, and it's Loveday, Loveday.
Yeah.
Date of birth is the 13th of the 6th, 1980.
Yep. Yeah, no, I've got that person here.
And I've got a conviction down here is on the 30th of October 2015.
Let's have a look. Yes, that's correct.
Are you allowed to disclose that to me on the phone, what those convictions are?
Yeah, of course. I'll just double check that there isn't any restrictions on it, which on a case of this age I don't think there will be.
Yep.
Let's see. Bear with me 2 seconds.
No problem.
Yeah, so are you needing the actual sentence he got, or the counts at which he was sentenced for?
Basically, anything that you can divulge, you're allowed to divulge about it, would be useful.
Alright, no problem. So, on the 30th of October 2015, he was sentenced to 4 years imprisonment. And that was for... let me just pull that up. It was for observe a person doing a private act, possess prohibited images of children, possess an indecent photograph / pseudo-photograph of a child, and arrange or facilitate the commission of a child sex offence.
Wow. Now, the other query I have, the gentleman obviously at the time of arrest, Stephen Lovejoy, was obviously a male. However, it's believed that he's transitioned to female.
Okay.
Is there any way of me being able to confirm? Obviously, he would class this as being a dead name, for example, do you still connect? Can you still connect the two names? You know, the one that's currently being used, or if it,
we would have, if that is the case, we would obviously have no record of this obviously person's new name unless they had had another dealing with us since that happened. We obviously just have it down by their original name.
He has done. He has had a conviction recently. It was to do with possession. I don't know.
Was that at Leeds Crown Court?
I'm not 100% sure if it was at Leeds. However,
if it was, what would the name be that it would have been under?
it would be Holly Stanley. Obviously spelled Holly like usual, Holly, and Stanley Stanley.
If that is the case, it wasn't at Leeds Crown Court.
Right. Okay. And there's no, obviously you guys see so many cases and things like that. But how would you advise me to sort of confirm that this is the correct Stephen Lovejoy with the correct date? But you know what I mean? It could be a different Stephen Lovejoy if somebody sort of transitioned to a different gender and things like that.
The only thing we can kind of use just to obviously verify is a name and date of birth.
And like I say, you wouldn't be able to. Is there anything for Holly Stanley at all with the same date of birth?
Not on our system, I'm afraid. Like I said, well, it's not like one big kind of joined court system. You know, here at Leeds we have our own system, and every other Crown Court in the country will have their own system. So obviously, if this individual has had dealing with an individual Crown Court, it will be visible on that system. Yeah,
I understand that. It's a good way of getting sort of manipulating things, isn't it? Really, both ways. Somebody who might be trying to hide what they've done in their past, and somebody who might be looking to possibly frame somebody who is innocent as well, isn't it?
Yeah, of course.
It's a shame, but so that information anyway that's been sent and has been on social media at least checks out from your end.
Yeah, like I said, it's you know, we were asked about a certain individual with that name and date of birth, and obviously that matched up to what we had on our system.
Yeah, that's no problem at all. Thank you very much for your help. I really appreciate it.
No problem, you're welcome.
No bother. You have a great day.
Yep, you too.
Bye.
Bye.
Wow. I mean, you guys heard those charges. Shit the bed. And I say the thing is, well, I've got to remind everybody, we know what the Fact Freak does over here. We know what I do. I look at information that's out there about people, and I fact check that information, make sure it's correct. That's exactly what that's been. The emails that have been sent about today, do check out. It's such a shame in a way that it can't be 100% nailed down, but sometimes you follow your gut. Sometimes you got to follow your gut, and that's a lot. That's a lot to take on. That is a lot to take on. See, what I do, the deep dives, as you guys know, I get information that's out there about somebody who's a wrong'un, and I put it in a cohesive story, and I hit it with fact after fact after fact, so it's watertight, and I expose it because I'm so lucky to have such a great audience, and people who share the videos and all sorts of stuff. People forget that. People think I'm the one behind the scenes doing this sort of thing, find this information. I'm not. I never have been, and if you've watched my deep dives, you know I often thank people and, you know, credit people for their work. You know, this is a great video, this made me look here, etc. This has been somebody called Truth Tattler, who's brought this information forward, and like I say, it checks out. You make of it what you think, guys. Well, I decided not to edit that clip, guys. At the end there, looking at myself and watching that, an absolute shock and disgust. Just hearing those horrible charges being read back to me. Still, you know, it's a day later and there's been digging, but I'm still, yeah. Anyway, after I found this information, I went straight onto TikTok, went live, and basically let people know what I knew so far and appealed for certain bits of evidence that hopefully I was able to get. So I went live with Feisty and quickly told Feisty that these emails checked out. We then began long day of lives on TikTok, appealing for information and talking to people about what had gone on. In the meantime, Holly had taken to sending messages to a few people, and I'm going to highlight some of those now. So the first message here says, "Or an officer stood in front of me and you confirming that person is me. I will admit to what you claim, but until then, leave me alone to clear my name." Since saying this, Holly's done absolutely nothing to clear her name. She's actually come off social media. This isn't like Jade, when there is evidence, photographic proof, an actual trail linking me to this. Just so you know, I'm not even listed at this address, as it's in Jess's name, not mine. And any court I have had proceedings with will have old address, not this one. Only offences linked to this address is in Holly Stanley for drugs. Now, we're going to prove later on that Holly Stanley, when she's attended court recently for drugs, was tried under the name Stephen Loveday. Do your research. I thought this is what you and Feisty did. So bring your evidence, because you actually have nothing. When I have many things right here that can prove all this wrong. For one, my wife's enhanced DBS check that would stop her doing the job if I had it. To me, those messages are very conflicting with each other. For example, she says that I will admit to what you claim, until then leave me alone. That's strange language if you're innocent. And then to say at the end that I've got all these things. What does she say? When I have many things right here to prove her innocence. She mentions one thing, the DBS check, but she says many things. Why haven't we seen any of those things? Anyway, let's move on to the next message. Right, guys, so before we do move on to those next messages, I thought we'd have a look at the DBS check that Holly uses quite often as a defence, that she could not have committed these crimes because her partner Jess's enhanced DBS check would cover Holly. Now let's have a little look. Enhanced DBS check is suitable for people working with children or adults in certain circumstances, such as those in receipt of healthcare or professional care. The certificate will contain the same details as standard certificate, and it is the rule is eligibility. An employer can request one. We all know what an advanced DBS check is. It's looking a little bit deeper into any potential criminal records that person may have. Now, it has come to my attention that obviously an advanced DBS check, as it says if you go to the bottom of the screen here, will my partner's convictions show up on an advanced DBS? Now, will my partner's criminal record appear on a DBS check? If you're living with your partner, that's very important. We are asked to request a DBS check for yourself. The police may choose details of convictions that your partner may have within your enhanced DBS certificate. So that's true, what Holly's saying, that if she had those and she was living with a partner, they would be disclosed. However, let's have a look at this message here, this WhatsApp message that I brought out. Remember what Holly said. I'm not even listed at this address as it's in Jess's name. There you have it. DBS check in this circumstance. If what Holly's saying is true, and she wants us to believe her on that one, then the other thing can't be true. So which one is it? Now I decided to keep a message that I was going to talk about private. However, it was on for me to try and prove that the same credentials that Leeds Crown Court held about Holly was the same credentials that were used in court about Holly recently. Also proving date of birth and what name was being used. So, as I said, I appealed out to TikTok and I got an abundance of evidence. So one of the first things I had to do was prove Holly's date of birth. Was it the same date of birth as the Stephen Loveday that was mentioned at Leeds Crown Court? Now, one of the first things I was sent by multiple people was this screenshot of Holly saying it was her birthday outfit, her birthday on Facebook. Now, the day, so the 13th of June, matched with what was said in the courts. However, this was no proof of the year that Holly was born. Sorry, I just wanted to add as well, it also really doesn't prove the day either, because if you believe Holly to be a liar, then this could be, well, a lie. So everybody had sent me a supposed business that was ran by Holly, under the name, of course, that the courts used, Stephen Loveday, with the same date of birth of June 1980. However, I needed as much proof as possible that this was Holly Stanley. I got sent multiple amounts of proof, but the actual real proof came from Holly's mouth herself. Listen very carefully.
Right. Holly, shut up. You think you're big and bad. Listen, darling.
I am big and bad. You ain't.
Your companies have been dissolved, yeah, because you're a fucking fraudster. Yeah, you do fuck all.
So as you heard there, Holly arguing with this lady, I mean, a lot of physical threats made, but the important thing when it comes to us talking about the business is there's Holly's admittance to the businesses were dissolved. And of course, we know that these businesses were dissolved through DirectGov as well. More linking Holly to the correct birth date used by Leeds Crown Court and the address and the name. Right, so now we move on to more evidence about date of birth and linking it once again to Holly. Now, if you see on one side, we've got something called a notice of criminal charge. Now, if you notice the bit that hasn't been zoomed in, I've put round a yellow box. Now, on there it says date of birth. Now, if we zoom in, obviously it's going to pixelate quite a bit, but you can see that the 13th is definitely there, 06/1980. Now, are the two sheets, are the two people linked? Once again, you've got the charge sheet. Now, if you look back at the charge sheet, you've got the red box where you've got 07WZ15, and then it's been sort of marked out. However, they've released it on this other image I've got here with the red box, and you can see once again 07WZ15, and then the remaining numbers that have been edited out of the other picture. More and more linking this information, these credentials being used to identify Holly Stanley. So that was clearly a few incidents where the date of birth has been linked to Holly Stanley. And here's another incident that proves once again that the courts refer to Holly Stanley as Stephen Loveday. This is information straight from the Crown Court at Chester, not to be confused with Leeds as we've been discussing so far, but this is Chester Crown Court, where Holly was tried for the drugs convictions, most recently in 2022. You can see clear as day there, RV Stephen Loveday. So as you see, at 9:15 last night, I received this message. He's been arrested. I just wanted to let you know, without you, a lot of these women would not have came forward. I asked if we had some sort of confirmation. I was then given the heart emoji to indicate there was, and we hope that it sticks. Now I looked for more evidence. Had Holly been arrested last night? And as I dug, and as people provided DMs, it became clear to me that Holly had been arrested. So I released the following statement. Hey guys, it's a late night update about Holly Stanley, aka Stephen Loveday. It's been confirmed to me through multiple sources that she has been arrested. So of course, when I announced that, the following morning we had a lot of people saying, I had messages from her last night. So of course, when I released that, a lot of people said, well, I've had messages from her last night. I've had messages of her this morning. What's going on? I then had a number of Holly's ex-mods and friends send me screenshots like this one of messages that Holly had sent. Now, if you remember on the last message, the person who told me that Holly had been arrested told me at about 9:15 at the evening. If you look at this message, we've got Holly new. This is not a new number from today. This is a new number from before, apparently. They say, don't do this to me when I've had a really rough 4 days. I can't take it. What's happened? Tell me now. Flu has released info making out I'm a nonce. And others have rang the courts to confirm it, but there's no direct link to me. It's all circumstantial. I haven't done what he's saying, and now the whole world thinks I'm a pedo. Is he joking? What kind of information? And you're not. And people will soon see. People are stupid if they believe him. And he's a fucking pedo. Police are here, babe. At 1950. Now let's look at the next stream of messages. So yeah, as we look at the next stream of messages that start, it's 6:54 a.m. Everyone is going to believe this. Feisty sent me a message saying, nothing I post or say will prove my innocence, even if I post my charge sheets or DBS cert. I'm sorry I can't do this anymore. They can't definitely prove it's me, and I can't prove it's not without claiming what I show is fake. And then this person has then chose to block Holly. So what we've proved here is that the Leeds Crown Court email was not faked. Everything there checked out. That every time Holly Stanley has been prosecuted, it's been under the name Stephen Loveday. The birth date is correct. And Holly's proved a lot by keeping silent herself, even though she says that she has evidence to hand to prove her innocence. It also may be circumstantial, but all of messages between Holly and ex-friends ended abruptly around the time that I was informed Holly had been arrested. Time will tell what the outcome will be of this. All I can do is strongly encourage anybody who's been in contact with Holly to do with children or anything else of that matter, anything that you find concerning, to get in touch with your police force. Tell them what's happening. Tell them how this has come about. They'll be able to find. And if you need help with any of that, you can reach out to me on Instagram. My name is JamesTheFreak, same as it is on here. This has been an absolutely horrendous thing to look into. And like I say, there's a lot of evidence there to suggest that Holly Stanley is guilty of those horrendous crimes.